Assalamu alaikum. I am Shiba Irfan. Our course title is Pakistan Studies and course code is PAKS Theta 1. Today our topic of lecture is the Ayub Khan era 1958 to 1969. Basically we will discuss about the reforms of the Ayub Khan. Now we will discuss about the scheme of lecture. I am dividing the lecture in many headings. First of all, we will discuss about the introduction, then the PODO and ABDO, the formation of family laws, law reforms, rehabilitation of refugees, change the capital, education reforms, scientific research, economic reforms, then conclusion. First of all, we will discuss about the introduction and the causes of the first martial law. Ayub Khan came into power after imposition of first martial law in the country. In October 1958, he assured the nation about lifting of martial law within the fulfillment of its objectives. Removal of all the political, social, economic and administrative confusion that prevailed in the country. The political instability in the country reached to an all-time high with the killing of the Deputy Speaker of East Pakistan Assembly and the CM of West Pakistan. Dr. Khan Sahib was assassinated in Lahore in March 1958. In the second cause is the first martial law. Pakistan was in the grip of severe economic crisis in 1958. The scarcity of consumer goods, the rising prices, shortage of food, larger scale deficit, financing and financial indiscipline, coupled with crop failure and industrial unrest. Ayub Khan banned all the political parties, their officers were sealed and their capital was confiscated as according to him. The politicians had ruined the country through their corrupt practices. Ayub Khan action against politicians under ABDO and PODO. How to wipe out the entire political class. When Ayub Khan took power in 1958, one of his main priorities was the destruction of the existing political order. In this connection, he abolished political parties on 7 October 1958. Politicians who were especially targeted and charged under security laws and martial law regulation were formed the National Awami Party and the East Pakistan Awami League. Both our parties were opposed to the one unit. In August 1958, Ayub Khan passed the elected body's disqualification order, means ABDO, and the second of PODO, Public Officer Disqualification Order. Under this order, 75 leaders were disqualified for participating in political activities for 8 years until December 1966. Under the ABDO and PODO, Ayub Khan primarily targeted East Pakistani politicians from the Awami League while leaving the Muslim League largely untouched. Under this article of ABDO, public servants who had been removed from services on any charge other than inefficiency. And the second, persons who had ever been served with an order under the Security of Pakistan Act or a similar law relating to the Act of Judicial to the Defence, External Affairs or the Security of Pakistan. And the third article is persons found guilty by the Federal Court or a High Court or a tribunal under PODO. And the fourth action, persons convicted of any offence and sentences to more than 2 years imprisonment stood debarred from being candidate or member of an elective body until December 1966. It was estimated that about 6,000 persons, half of them from East Pakistan, were disqualified under the article of Abdo. Article 7 or 8 of Abdo was used to go after senior party leadership who escaped disqualification. Under the Article 7, any person served with the notice could opt to retire from politics until 31 December 1966, in which case further proceedings against him were dropped. In case this position was not exercised by the respondent, an inquiry would be instituted under the Article of 8, and if found guilty, he would be disqualified up to December 1966 from separation of East Pakistan. Prominent politicians disqualified under these three articles of Abdo were the top leaders of the East Pakistan Awami League, including Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the second Hussain Shahid Sohrawardi, and the third one Maulana Bashani was also arrested. The formation of family laws. On 2 March 1961, he passed and signed the Muslim Family Laws Bill through the ordinance under which unmitigated polygamy was abolished. Consent of current wife was made mandatory for a second marriage. Family Laws Ordinance was implemented in 1961 on the recommendation of a commission appointed in 1954, and West Pakistan Conciliation Ordinance in 1962. The ordinance provided that every marriage solemnized was to be registered with Union Council on payment of tax. Nikah registrars were appointed. Nobody was allowed for second marriage without reference to Union Council and his first wife. The permission for second marriage was on genuine reason like no issue, death of first wife. Similarly, an arbitration council was set up in case of divorce, and if the council failed to reconcile the couple, the divorce was effected on the expiration of 90 days. Under family laws, the grandson was made eligible for property left by his grandfather. This is the family laws under the Ayub Khan era. Law reforms under the Ayub Khan era. The martial law regime appointed Law Reforms Commission in December 1959 to suggest that as to how justice may better and more speedily be done, and to examine the following: the hierarchy of the courts and their parts, the making of judicial appointments, the standard and contents of legal education, the structure and discipline of legal professions, the law of civil and criminal procedure, and the law of evidence. The government issued 10 ordinances during 1962-3 to streamline the administration of justice, and similarly the government also appointed Company Law Commission in 1959 to re-enact the existing company law. However, the ideal of speedy justice was never realized. The law of civil and criminal procedure and the law of evidence, the Jirga and the Panchayat system. The Jirga and the Panchayat system and their extension to the suitable areas, the cost of litigation and any other relevant matter, the government. However, the ideal of speedy justice was never realized. Many ordinances were issued to reform labor laws in the country, how to improve production, equitable distribution of wealth, better working conditions for labor. Under the law reforms, they were introduced the labor reforms. Many ordinances were issued to reform labor laws in the country and improve production, equitable distribution of wealth. Labor laws were reformed through the Industrial Dispute Ordinance in 1959, which set up an entirely new machinery for resolving industrial disputes. Industrial courts were set up also. The West Pakistan Industrial and Commercial Employment Standing Order Act in 1960 was introduced, and the East Pakistan Industrial and Commercial Employment Act 1965 made the labor condition better. Rehabilitation of refugees. After the independence of Pakistan 1947, the Pakistani government faces many problems like refugees, rehabilitation of the refugees. Under the Ayub Khan era, they were severe the condition of the refugees. Rehabilitation of refugees. About 9 million people left their central home and came to Pakistan. They constituted about 10% population of Pakistan. A large number of refugees were living in the bamboo huts, and they were as a political weapon by the politicians to achieve their objectives. The military regime appointed Lieutenant General Azam Khan as refugees minister, and displaced person in 1959 commission was issued. By 1962, the military regime adjusted 1230 million as property transfer and the 70 million rupees as cash compensation. 1500 dwelling Kurangi Township, Karachi was constructed for refugees. The Karachi Development Authority built 18,000 quarters in New Karachi, and 7,000 quarters were provided in Malir Extension Scheme. East Pakistan government built 23,900 houses, 2,000 flats and 809 shops at a cost of 2,42,4 million rupees. We'll discuss about why capital of Pakistan moved from Karachi to Islamabad. Pakistan military dictator Ayub Khan decided to shift the capital city from Karachi to Islamabad in late 1950s, as Karachi had become economic hub of the country and the infrastructure of the city was providing adequate for the growing needs of the city. Before 1947, Karachi population was barely 1 million, but after independence of India and creation of Pakistan, over 6 million refugees from India settled in Karachi, and many serious problems arose, including that of transport and sanitation and water and sewerage services were providing inadequate, and many slum areas had arisen. The Federal Capital Commission suggested that the new capital shall be constructed on the Potokhar Plateau, as Ayub Khan wanted close contact with GHQ Rawalpindi. In February 1960, the new capital was named Islamabad by the Presidential Cabinet. Islamabad city was built during the 1960s to replace Karachi as a Pakistan capital. However, the capital was not moved directly from Karachi to Islamabad, but first moved from Karachi to Rawalpindi, then to Islamabad. The development of the country was focused on Karachi, and President Ayub Khan wanted it to be equally distributed. He wanted Islamabad to be a modern and clean city, especially in comparison to other cities in Pakistan. It is well organized, with the city being divided into different sectors and zones. Islamabad was divided into 8 zones: the diplomatic enclave, the commercial district, the educational sector, the industrial area, and so on, each with its own shopping area and park. Islamabad is also home to the Faisal Masjid, which is well known for its architecture and eminent size. We will discuss about the education reforms under the Ayub Khan regime. According to the recommendations of the Commission, the whole curriculum was revised from class 1 to 12. Education Commission was appointed in December 1958 and was entrusted with the following responsibilities. A number of education experts and writers were entrusted with to write new books for the national curriculum. The regime emphasized on the technical education as well, for the purpose in the subject of civil, mechanical, electrical, and automobile engineering. Polytechnic College was established. Engineering universities were established in Lahore and Dhaka to develop among the people a sense of duty, patriotism, and national solidarity, and to inculcate in among them the habits of industry, integrity, and the devotion to serve to produce men to talent, characters, and ability for the development of the country and the state, to obtain the diversion of students and aptitude and intelligence to appropriate sectors like agriculture, technical field, and other vocational trainings was established in Pakistan. Arrangements were also made alienate the higher education from the secondary education. Under the Ayub Khan regime, the educational reforms were starting to suggest the role of education in the community. The military regime implemented most of the recommendations of the Commission. First time in the history of Pakistan, the bachelor degree was extended to 3 years and a system of monthly test of 25% marks was introduced. But it was taken back on the agitation by the Bengali students. Engineering and agriculture universities along with polytechnic institutions were established. Primary and secondary education was made compulsory in 2 phases, first from class 1 to 5 and second from 5 to 10 by 1970. Under the education reforms, the Ayub Khan appointed a new commission in 1959. The commission recommendation of the Scientific Commission were implemented mostly after the withdrawal of martial law. The step taken by the government were the making of liberal grants to the universities for scientific research, setting up of separate division in the central government for scientific and technological research and separate division for defense-related research. Medical Council, Nuclear Institute, Pakistan National Scientific and Documentation Center were established under the Ayub Khan regime. Medical education have a vital in providing the services at health sector. After independence, Pakistan having only 2 medical colleges. The number of medical colleges were raised to 6. Nursing schools were established in Quetta, Lahore, Hyderabad to provide more nursing services and training. Before that, students moved to foreign countries for higher education. Higher medical studies arrangements were made in the postgraduate medical center in Karachi for the basic subject. However, students were still sent for higher studies on government scholarship to foreign countries under the Colombo Plan. CENTO and World Health Organization WHO. Economic reforms. Ayub Khan development decade 1958 to 1968. Military takeover by General Ayub Khan brought about a new era of development in Pakistan. The deterioration in the economic situation and political instability had made them wary of politicians. Economic and social reforms were high on Ayub Khan's agenda. These reforms included economic planning and providing basic needs such as food to the overall public of Pakistan. A number of commissions including land reforms and education were set up to review policies and make recommendations, though in the end only limited progress was achieved on issues like education and land reforms. Economic policy making was at the center stage in Ayub Khan period. Role of the Planning Commission. Even though the Planning Commission was identified in the public mind mainly with the preparation and monitoring of the 5-year plan under Ayub Khan, it had much broader role in the economic policy coordination. The Planning Commission basic task was, however, the providing of the 5-year plan. Bonus voucher scheme. The essence of export bonus voucher scheme. In order to boost export, the government introduced bonus voucher scheme in January 1959. Was to provide incentive for exporters of manufactured goods financed from the excess profits which could be made on imports due to the overvaluation of exchange rate. Exporters of commodities rather than the main agriculture exporters were entitled to purchase foreign exchange equal to 20 to 40% of their foreign exchange earnings. Since the foreign exchange was scarce as import heavily regulated by import licenses, there was a high premium on bonus vouchers, which were basically free import license. In the first year of scheme, the premium on bonus voucher was in the range of 150 to 200 because the general import policy was very restrictive. During the year 1959 to 1961, bonus voucher imports accounted for only 10 to 15% of private sector imports. So the bonus voucher premium cannot be considered a good proxy of the average profitability of import license. The main purpose of the scheme was to increase non-traditional exports, but in the process it imparted a great degree of market determination to import, and the migrant transferred excess import profit to export of manufacturing goods. Manufactured export from West Pakistan had risen to 2.2% of GDP in 1968 as compared 0.5% of GDP in 1955. The increase in the manufactured export did not automatically translate into growth in the total exports. Export bonus voucher was a system of multiple exchange rates. This voucher could be used for special imports and could also be sold in the open market. The scheme was withdrawn by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in May 1972. Export bonus voucher scheme reflected the general basis favor of industry which was inherited from 1950s. The original idea of supporting the growth sector like industry was laudable. However, along the way, there was no real monitoring of the cost of this sport. Under the economic reforms, we will discuss about the agriculture and land reforms. Ayub Khan also introduced reforms in the field of agriculture to increase its productivity. No one could own land holding less than 12.5 acres or greater than 500 acres irrigated or 1000 acre unirrigated. The land in excess was confiscated by the government and redistributed among the landlords. Farmers, landowners were forced to find tenants. Hence, the small farmers were run more efficiently than large farmers. Use of HVS, use of fertilizers produced by fertilizer industry that were recently developed encouragement of mechanism by the way of availability of tractors and harvesters on easy installation of tube wells, better irrigational facilities due to the 3 dams built as a result of the Indus Water Treaty in 1960. With India, which ensured constant water supply for 10 years, ensured increased crop yields. These policies brought about a green revolution and so crop yields were at an all-time record. Under the agriculture reforms, these reforms included modern methods of farming, the use of better seed, better credit facilities, improved market facilities, and measures to check water logging and salinity. The Agriculture Development Corporation was set up in 1961 in both the wings of country to provide the farmer with technical knowledge in East Pakistan and the West Pakistan. Out of 7.75 million acre land hold in excess is nearly 2.40 million acre were resumed and distributed among the tenants, means farmers. It was pointed out that the land holding was on individual basis, not family based. Therefore, the landlords saved their land by transferring it to their family members as gift. It led to large-scale unemployment, and these facilities could not be used by poor peasants who found them too expensive. So they made rich richer and poor poorer. Development planning during 1947 to 1958. Political instability harmed development planning was very disturbed in this regime. Development planning. Role of the Development Planning and Commission. Even though the Planning Commission was identified in the public mind mainly with the preparation and monitoring of the 5-year plan under Ayub Khan, it had much broader role in the economic policy coordination. The Planning Commission's basic task was, however, the approving of the 5-year plan. Planning Board upgraded the Planning Commission with the President as its chairman in 1959. Plan discipline introduced second 5-year plan 1960 to 1965, third 5-year plan 1965 to 1970. Gross fixed investment over 10 years under Ayub Khan role increased nearly threefold in real terms, rising from 8.5% of GDP in 1958 to 1959 to 14% in 1968 to 1969. Private investment was encouraged through loosening of direct economic control on trade, investment, price and marking of foreign credit resources for the private sector through long-term credit agencies. As a consequence of these developments and the investment made more more than double rose of from 2.5% of annum in the 1950s to 5.6% in the 1960s. The growth rate of GDP in West Pakistan rose to 6.7% from 3.1% and accelerated in East Pakistan from 1.7% to 4%. However, notwithstanding rapid economic growth, economic and political tensions in the society and between the two wings grow, especially after the war with India in September 1965, which led to a squeeze on resources reflecting both a leveling of foreign assistance and increased allocation of defense. Indeed, in 1965 war was a watershed in Pakistan history. It seriously interrupted the development movement of the first half of the 1960s. And now we will conclude our lecture. Ayub Khan policies and assessment. For Pakistan, the period of 1960s was of quickening the tempo for growth. There was a dramatic turnaround in investment and growth in both East and West Pakistan. This was a result of Ayub Khan's strong commitment to development. This development movement was seriously disrupted by the 1965 war with India, reduction in foreign aid availability and increased defense spending squeezed investment. Rural areas benefited from high agriculture growth while urban areas suffered from the consequences of slowdown in manufacturing and construction and cuts in the social spending. Growth of GDP remained high both in East and West Pakistan in the second half of 1960s, but this was concentrated mostly in agriculture in West Pakistan. The non-economic consequences of 1964 were more disaster for Ayub Khan. East Pakistan was left without adequate defense spending. During the war with India, there was growing economic disparity and lack of sufficient political participation. In economic policy terms, major failures were the preparation of the industrial and trade policies of 1950s and an excessive reliance on external assistance. Despite these economic policies, by Ayub Khan era was an exceptionally successful period of economic management. Ayub Khan was the man of determination and have done some successful decisions as well as failure. Ayub Khan always did what he thought better in the light of his own experience. His regime can be characterized with some development, but he could not maintain the national harmony among the distant provinces of Pakistan like East Pakistan and West Pakistan. I hope this lecture will be helpful for you. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.